In the winter of 1993, miners cutting into a salt mine in northern Iran hit something soft. It was a man. Long red hair, a full beard, and one leather boot with his foot still inside it. He had been dead for 17 centuries, and almost nothing about him had rotted. The strangest part isn't that the salt kept him whole. It's that the exact same white grains are sitting in your kitchen right now. You think salt is what makes your food taste alive. It is the opposite. What that mine handed back was not a skeleton picked clean by time itself. It was a whole man, caught mid-moment. 3 iron knives still at his side, the lower leg still sealed inside its boot, every hair of that red beard sitting where it had always sat. 1,700 years passed over him and simply refused to touch him. The grains on your kitchen table did that, and the salt had never been gentle about it. Most of these men did not lie down to die. A gallery of the mine gave way and dropped tons of salt rocks straight onto them. The very ceiling that crushed them then pressed their bodies flat and sealed them airtight. There was no embalming, no ceremony. Salt killed them where they stood, and then it refused to let the crime scene rot. Preservation here was not mercy. It was the murder weapon holding on to its own evidence, and this had happened more than once. Between 1993 and 2010, the same mine gave up at least 6 salt-kept bodies. Then the anatomist started counting bones, and the arithmetic broke. Corpses first logged as a single man turned out to be the scattered pieces of 8 or more. Over a vast stretch of time, the mine had been swallowing people one accident at a time and filing each one away in salt, like a clerk who never once closed the drawer. One of them had died wearing gold. One of them, the man they now call Saltman 1, wore a gold earring in his left ear, the mark of rank, not a common digger. It bought him nothing. A man rich enough for gold ended up on the same shelf of salt as the poorest laborer beside him, both kept in exactly the same way, both equally unable to leave. Salt does not read your status before it decides to hold you. It never asks who you were. Part of him is still on display today. His head and his left foot sit behind glass right now, in the National Museum of Iran in Tehran. You can walk up and stand in front of a face that is 1,700 years old. Skin, features, the set of the mouth. A face that every law of biology says should have dissolved into dirt an age ago. It did not. It did not. One thing in the world held it here. Salt. So here's what salt actually did to him. Salt preserves by thirst. Pack it against flesh, and the outside turns saltier than the inside, so water is dragged out of every bacterial cell until the microbes shrivel and quit. Rot needs living bacteria. Living bacteria need water. Salt simply takes the water and walks off with it. What held that miner together for 17 centuries was not a shell wrapped around him. It was a slow, total drought opened up inside him, every cell wrung dry. You have watched this exact thing happen on a kitchen counter. Pour salt on a slug and watch it happen in real time. It shrinks, it foams, it dies in seconds. The water yanks straight out through its skin. That squirming little demonstration on the sidewalk is the entire secret. The saltman is that same experiment. Same physics, same drought, just run on a human being and then left alone for 1,700 years. And it was never really about the body at all. The miner was never the special part. The room was. A salt mine preserves wood, leather, rope, cloth. Anything that falls into it draws the same sentence: do not decompose. Radiocarbon scatters the Karabad bodies across 700 years of history, different men, different eras, one identical fate. The salt did not recognize a person or care that it had caught one. It just stopped time for whatever it happened to be touching, even the things you would never want kept. Deeper in, the mine kept lumps of ancient animal dung so perfectly that scientists later pulled whole, intact parasite eggs out of them. And out of a human mummy came the eggs of a tapeworm more than 2,000 years old, the oldest gut parasite ever found in Iran, still curled where it had lived and fed. Salt does not curate. It saved the miner, his boot, and the worms inside him, all with the same blind, equal care. Ancient priests noticed this power and put it to work. Egyptian embalmers buried their dead in natron, a natural sodium salt, and packed it inside the body for 40 days, until not one drop of moisture was left. Stop and see what that means. The pharaohs paid priests a fortune to do, on purpose and by ritual, the exact thing an Iranian mine did to a random miner by accident: bury a body in salt until it can no longer rot. The trick was always the same trick. You have the same trick in your own kitchen. A prosciutto is nothing but a leg packed in salt to pull the water out, then hung in the dark to age for months. It is the saltman's mechanism exactly. The same drought, the same held-off rot, only slowed down and made delicious. That cured ham swinging in the deli window is a body deliberately kept from decaying, and you slice it thin and you eat it. Salt did not just preserve food, it moved it across the whole world. Salt cod is a fish salted and dried so hard it keeps for months with no fridge at all. Before refrigeration, that is how a cod hauled out of the North Atlantic could be eaten in West Africa or Brazil a whole season later. The fish was dead the moment it left the water. Salt let it outlive its own death and cross an entire ocean, spending the very same currency of time it once spent on the miner. And the reason it tastes good is stranger than you would think. Humans have salted their food for more than 5,000 years. Salt holds decay off just long enough for slower, harmless changes to turn bland protein into something deep and savory. The flavor you love in cured meat is preservation caught halfway. Decay paused at the exact instant before it finishes. Read that again. The taste is a body not quite rotting. You have been eating arrested death and calling it dinner. Humans are not even the only ones who go mining for it. At Kidam Cave in Kenya, elephants walk 150 meters into total darkness and carve the walls with their tusks to dig out the salt. As much as 20 kilograms of salt rock in a single night, feeling their way along paths their ancestors wore into the rock over thousands of years. No hands, no lamps, no light at all. They mine salt in the black, the same way ancient humans once did, because a body cannot be talked out of needing it. They do it because without salt, they die. Plants carry almost no sodium, so every plant eater lives with a low, constant salt hunger that never fully quiets. Elephants, buffalo, antelope, they creep towards salt licks and black caves and gamble their lives to reach them. And the predators wait in that dark on purpose, because they know the prey has no choice but to come. To them, salt is not a flavor. It is a need worth being eaten for, which is exactly why humans once built empires on it. You have probably heard that Roman soldiers were paid in salt, and that this is where the word salary comes from. Half of that is true. The word really does trace back to the Latin for salt, but no surviving ancient source ever says a soldier was handed salt as wages. That piece was invented centuries later by dictionary writers filling a gap they did not understand. It is the perfect small lie. The fact is real. The story wrapped around it is not. And there is far more salt on Earth than that story could ever measure. Seawater is about 3.5% salt, 35 grams in every liter, and roughly 120 million tons of it in a single cubic mile. Every mouthful of the sea is a weaker version of the brine that stopped that body from rotting. Look up from the miner and the scale flips. The planet is a salt tank with the continents floating in it, and you were born on a rock in the middle of it, and every salt mine on land is just an ocean that dried up. Every deposit of rock salt on Earth, including the mine that kept the miner, is the ghost of a sea that dried up and left its salt behind. So the man was never buried in a mineral at all. He was buried in the fossil of a vanished ocean. Pull back far enough, and it all collapses into one thing. The mine, the sea, and the little shaker on your table are the same white grains. You reach for them to make your dinner taste alive. But every single time you do, your hand is running the oldest trick there is, telling decay to wait. You are not seasoning your food. You are stopping death, a little, with your bare hands.